Hi there. My name is DG Valdron. This is my attic. It's the place where I keep my meanderings, my ruminations, my thoughts and reviews and recollections, and basically things that normally I should keep to myself, but I'm going to inflict them on you anyway because that's the sort of person that I am. And today we are going to do a movie review, the movie being The Backrooms. And here is my review in a nutshell. What the hell did I just watch? No, I mean, seriously, what the hell was this? Um, After the movie, and I swear I've never done this before, I went out into the theater hall, and as people were coming out, I would stop them and say, "What exactly did we just watch? What is this movie about?" And they would go, "I don't know either." It's like, what? Um, but here's the strangest thing: the movie theater was packed. Now, I've been going to movies for a long time, and the audiences have been withering away. And so, for a lot of movies, I'm basically one of a very small group of people in the theater. And even with popular movies, I mean, they're mostly half empty. It's only once in a while that the movie theater gets crowded. And this was the most crowded I've seen it in years because every seat was taken. I ended up having to sit in the wheelchair companion seat, um, which you're supposed to leave alone just in case anybody with a wheelchair comes in with a friend. But I mean, that was all there was. It was just crowded to the gills, every like front, back, sides, everything. So obviously, there's an audience here that people wanted to see it. Somebody understood something about what was going on, but I was just confused. Um, And another interesting thing was that during the movie, there were certain points where I could hear the audience going murmuring. The character would walk into a scene, there'd be a particular set piece like a Christmas tree, and there'd be a bunch of people in the back going, "Ooh, they're showing us the Christmas tree scene." I'm going, "What the hell?" So, what are we to make of this? I'll tell you a little bit about the movie and maybe just try and explain some of what my perspective on this is. Uh, an alcoholic, failed architect, furniture salesman is stuck in his furniture sales store overnight, and he spies a light, and it turns out that there's an invisible door to another dimension. Now, it's not a fun dimension, with monsters and, rainbows or horses. And like, it's not the Lord of the Rings dimension. It's not the Hell dimension. What it is it's a hotel basement dimension. Are you familiar with those? I've been to way too many of them. But basically, when they were doing these big hotels, they would have the rooms and stuff all on the upper floors, the restaurants, the retail areas. But then the basement, they would convert or use for conferences, for meeting rooms, for stuff. So you had all these windowless rooms, these empty, open, windowless spaces with this completely neutral wallpaper, and it was modular so that you could basically open the rooms or section them or divide them, merge them or separate them as you needed. And so it was basically windowless, creepy, sterile space. That's the back rooms. Anyway, he goes into the back rooms and he just keeps on going. It goes on and on and on, all these hallways, and it's strange. And the further he goes, the weirder it gets. He finds furniture kind of seemingly merged into the floor. And the geography starts getting weirder and weirder. And there are signs that are backwards and all of this. And then he hears strange noises, runs away. And I mean, look, if this was me, I would be going to the cops. I'd be going to the fire department. I'd be going to NASA or the Jet Propulsion Laboratory or whoever does string theory at the university and going, "Hey, somebody take a look at this." But because he is an alcoholic, angry furniture salesman, he decides to investigate it on his own. And then he and some other people disappear, and a psychologist gets a phone call from him, and she follows the trail and finds her way into the back rooms. And then it's just there. It's kind of creepy. Eventually, she gets chased by a monster, which is nice because that's some part where something actually happens. But mostly, the vibe of this movie is sort of the horror of creepiness. This is very different from what I've seen. Typically, you get monsters. Typically, you get dread. You get cosmic horror, whatever. But this is almost a situational horror. It's the horror of a world that we recognize and that seems to slowly but steadily go off the rails and become more and more disturbing the more we deal with it. It's a horror of, I don't know, deterioration, of the horror of entropy. It's different. This movie started off originally as some sort of YouTube, as some sort of online meme. It was a picture posted on 4chan back in 2019 by an apparently anonymous person, and it basically just depicted, the hotel hallways, the hotel basement, and it became part of something called Creepypasta, which has nothing to do with pasta, but seems to be about creepy postings. So creepy postings, creepypasta. And a lot of creepypasta seems to be really about depicting a world or depicting settings, scenes, characters that at first they seem normal. And then it slowly goes off the rails. Slowly, the more you look, the more you interact, the more unusual and disturbing it does. The creepy aspects become more and more prominent until you're just kind of weirding out. And that's really different. It's not a horror about monsters. It's a horror that says that the world that we know is only apparently knowable, that the things that we take for granted are not safe, not stable, not even sane, and we're only comfortable because we're not paying attention. Okay. Now, the Backrooms in 2022 became a series of YouTube videos by a guy named Kane Parsons, or Kane Pixel. Kane Parsons is his real name. And actually, as I looked this up, the Backrooms movie that we've just seen actually fits in the continuity of Kane Parsons' YouTube videos. So it's between two particular videos. All right. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. When I started looking into, the Backrooms, I was literally overwhelmed. There was just an immense amount of stuff. And this is, I guess, the other part of the horror concept. This is almost crowdsourcing. This is almost a collective work. Most horror that we find is very individual. There's a creator, a person of vision who comes up with it. Bram Stoker creates Dracula. Mary Shelley creates Frankenstein. Ridley Scott does The Alien. And it reflects really concrete fears, concrete ideas. But in this case, what we're seeing is something very different in terms of how it's created and how it's emerged. And what it is that it's an idea that is both consumed and produced. That the people who encounter the Backrooms, who get into its lore, its ideas, they also contribute to it. And so it becomes this immense sprawling thing. So when I looked up, it wasn't just the hotel levels. There were literally hundreds of levels. And there were all kinds of entities. And there's all kinds of aspects and stories and tales and probably videos and games and stuff. And it became this sort of sprawling landscape all around this idea. And, there's some basic concepts that inhabit the Backrooms, but fundamentally, it's so much larger, which I guess is kind of ironic in terms of the depiction of the concept, this infinite liminal space. Well, they packed the movie theater, so good for them. I still have no idea what I watched. I'm not sure that I'm completely happy with it, but I think I'd recommend. I think you should check it out. And maybe if you understand it, you can explain it to me. Who knows? I think maybe the Backrooms and other movies and films like this uh, is representative of a new trend emerging with horror, a new kind of horror. You know, I mean, we have our cosmic horror, we have our serial killer horror, we have our vampires and werewolves and you know, or aliens. But this really does seem to be a horror of normality, of normality breaking down slowly and steadily, and becoming ever more distorted. And I think this is kind of intriguing. So I'm going to recommend this movie. Check it out.